we are interrupting regular programming with breaking news in the trial of Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan.
And that verdict coming in just moments ago, it is a split verdict. The not guilty is for count 1, which was the misdemeanor of concealing a person to prevent their arrest. The guilty verdict was on the felony count of obstructing.
And I want you to remember also, this judge tried in some of the pretrial motions to claim that the Supreme Court decision that presidents of the United States have an immunity against being charged with a crime for official acts. That was a defense in pretrial motions that the attorneys for this judge tried to raise. Say basically, look, Supreme Court gave the president of the United States immunity for official acts, therefore I'm immune. It made no logical sense. It was a good try and was obviously not accepted by the judge here. But the whole idea that no one is above the law and that the left was saying it was so dangerous that the president of the United States had this limited immunity decision by the Supreme Court, which said, listen, if it's within the official acts of the president of the United States, you cannot then try to go after a president for things they did as president as a crime later. That would lead to chaotic, continuous prosecution of former presidents by political enemies. That isn't what happened here. What happened here was a judge that is supposed to be an arbiter of the law, judging, calling balls and strikes, as they say, decided to take the law into her own hands. The individual was before her court for a completely different reason, and U.S. immigration officials came there to serve a warrant, which was issued for this individual. And she ran interference for this individual that was in her courtroom. She went out and tried to stop the agents, distracted them by sending them to talk to the chief judge. And during that time, snuck this individual who had snuck into our country illegally out of the back of her courtroom through her own chambers in an attempt to let them flee justice. That doesn't sound like what we want from judges in this country, but it's what she did. And she had her day in court, and she had a speedy trial. And here we are in December, where she now is a convicted felon under the laws of the United States. Now, she will have an appeals process, and they're already asking for money to raise money for her defense fund so they can continue going through with this. But under the law in Wisconsin, she cannot be a judge there anymore with this felony conviction. She is a convicted felon. I want to go to Jerry calling from Rhode Island on line 1. Jerry, you've got a question about this. You're on Seculo.
If memory serves me correct, I believe she was on hiatus or administrative leave pending this. Now that she's been convicted under the appeal, is she allowed to go back to rule from the bench, or is she on extended leave still until the appeal's over?
It's a great question, Jerry. Yes, you're right. The Wisconsin Supreme Court put her on suspension, but it was with pay. So she was still making her close to $200,000 a year salary in the state of Wisconsin while not working during this entire process. This just came out last night, so we haven't heard from the court whether or not she has been removed from the bench based off of this felony conviction, but she is a convicted felon under the law. The appeals process, we'll see how the Supreme Court of Wisconsin decides to allow that to play out. But at this trial court level, she is a convicted felon today.